Like if you think about what this is just a simple technology. What this technology does is it has a source of truth. It has ability to execute smart contracts. So things that we've written into a document, and somebody's got to go check and go settle and do this and that, can get programmed in, and it has a way to pay. That actually is a massive threat to huge financial institutions who act as those roles. And so what you have is a lot of sort of the traditional, you have some traditional firms who are merely trying to figure out how to leverage the technology to do what they do today. I'll give you an example. DTCC settles transactions, securities. They're working on just using blockchain as the source of truth in settlement. They should kind of be thinking about atomic settlement where the moment the trade happens, the dollars, the smart contract executes and the dollars transact. Because that's actually what's going to happen. And then I think you have institutions, and I think hopefully this is what we're doing at Franklin Templeton, is we're trying to sit there and say, okay, with this technology, imagine where you do have atomic settlement on transactions, where you don't need to validate. Oftentimes a bank is in between to validate the two parties. I know that when I trade with JP Morgan, that they're making sure that whoever's on the other side is going to pay me. They're standing in for that. If it settles automatically, you don't need that validation. So you have parties who are thinking about what does atomic settlement mean to my business model? In our case, we built on the Stellar blockchain our money market fund, where we have the record keeping, and we're the only ones who are actually running a public transactions on blockchain. There's others shadowing it. We're actually settling them on the chain. And so over time, as you can start to have people making payments leveraging this yield coin, then and maybe you hold it for 5 hours. Shouldn't you get 5 hours worth of yield?
Walmart becoming the latest retailer to announce plans to replace its physical in-store price stickers with electronic shelf labels in its aisles. While the digitized shelves will allow stores to provide more details to shoppers, it also gives them the ability to change prices as often as every 10 seconds. Joining us now on set to break down this latest dynamic pricing trend is Phil Lempert, Supermarket Guru CEO, and our own Melissa Repko. Great to have both of you guys. So, Phil, how much danger is there here if shoppers aren't reassured that they're not hiking prices?
That's exactly the point. And short term, no danger. Walmart has already come out and said they're not going to do dynamic prices. They realized what happened when Wendy's talked about dynamic prices a few months ago. Up in arms. People just hate that idea. And keep in mind that what Walmart is doing is they're trying to reduce their labor costs. Labor is the number one aspect for retailers. They've got to reduce those costs. But once they put this technology on the shelves, watch out. Now, the good news is we can get nutritional information. If, Walmart's competitor across the street goes on sale, Walmart can lower prices. But again, once that technology is in there, and that's my concern, they can raise prices. On a hot summer day, I want a lot of ice cream, I want lemonade. They're running low, they can raise the price.
For example, it would be really powerful to have an AI scientist and in the biomedical combined with the robotics and the laser optics and synthetic chemistry. It really give us extremely important breakthrough in the drug discovery, regenerative medicines, reproductive medicines, and aging control, and that's it. So it's not really one area which is important. We really have to combine together because we're dealing with very complex. Over 25 years ago, back in the middle 90s, I kind of proposed a field called systems biology. I published a couple papers. With actually was a senior editor at the time, and we worked together, publishing the series paper, and we consider let's do the systems view on the biology, and that's the way to go. Now, after 25 years, 30 years in systems, everyone found out, wow, that's so complicated. So this is not the area human scientists alone were able to dissect it. We have to work with the AI system, which can be able to digest a very large scale informations, come up with a hypothesis, making sense out of that. Large language model, LML, or foundation model for the science is the things which moving forward. Probably not the final form. We're gonna have a series of evolutions. So what we're trying to do with the next stage is trying to find the AI scientist or AI engineers. Probably I would say AI scientist either as a tool or like a highly autonomous AI scientist to be able to help us doing the science or like do the science by themselves and then make things much faster. So I think that is like really now there's a tipping point. It's really the inflection point. And what is happening in the scene in AI is the very early stage of industry evolutions. We're talking about the productivity. So we have like ChatGPT or all the Cohere's applications and all that, and they've asked to do things much more efficiently, much more accurately. Then we're going to creativity industry, like people can do the creative artwork or like entertainment. That will come, and then we're going to have like an AI scientist, which will fundamentally change the way we do science. And our civilization is based on scientific discovery, how to take that into the technology. And this impact of like an AI propelled science in unprecedented speed will change the form of the civilization for decades to come. I think that is like something we are looking into.
In terms of pace, I think from my perspective, since I'm in it every single day, it's too slow. But every once in a while, we get a breakthrough. I think the most recent of those are this new category of model called reasoning models. And it's a paradigm shift in terms of how the models go about their work. If you think about what a large language model does, its input space is all of language, right? So it's literally anything. You can ask it 1 + 1 or to prove Fermat's theorem. And the output space, it has to respond immediately. And so the user expectation is huge. Your input is literally everything, and you have to get the right answer on the first try. That's obviously wrong, right? We shouldn't spend the same amount of effort on very wildly different levels of difficulty. And what reasoning lets you do is the model actually sits down and thinks through problems. And so now it can spend a dynamic amount of energy and effort on different problems. That unlocks a completely new category of problem. These agentic tasks, you actually expect the models to fail on their first try. That's okay. That's part of learning the problem, and then it needs to be able to try again. So these reasoning models will just unlock a whole new tier of capability in the technology. And the other thing is, what we're finding about them is they can be distilled extremely effectively. So that means taking it from the massive model that costs $1 billion to train and putting them in a tiny one that can be deployed on edge is extremely effective.
Becoming intelligent. I think we saw that as computational power go to multiple different things. We probably saw revolutions happening out of automotive industry. The car right now is advanced computer, is a new computing surface, and computing is becoming the most important part of the car. We see that what's happening in industries. And then on top of this, you have a number of different trends of technology. You have the ability to computers now understand human language, and that's enabled by those large language models and Gen AI. You can actually communicate with the computer, and that's not only how we think about a prompt in text, also in how do you see things, how do you hear things. And I think when you combine that with all the computation that is going on, all the different devices, it creates incredible opportunity. And I think just to pick on what my colleague was saying, if you look of different directions that AI is going, and you have now very effective compressed SLM, smaller models. You have mix of experts coming up, which you have a model which is really focused on a particular aspect in a particular knowledge base. You have multimodal ability to process different types of inputs. And you combine that with the computing that you have on the edge, you see an incredible transformation, especially as you move from training to production. And we're obviously very excited about this, but we are seeing, for example, the ability to run models. There were in the order of 15 billion parameters, 20 billion parameters into a phone, into 30 billion parameters into a PC, 60 billion parameter models into a car. And I think that's revolutionary because you have the ability to fundamentally change the cost equation, especially as you go to production, but also you have things that are very important for the user, like latency. If you are in the car and you literally are going to be talking to your car. I think a Gen AI interface is perfect if you're behind the wheel. You want a response right away. Certain things that you do, and you ask a question, you want the model to respond right away. Latency becomes incredibly important. Privacy becomes important. And there are even some new techniques. It's actually fascinating to see it. We have done a number of demonstrations of combining a small model into the device at the edge with the big model into the cloud. And what happened, you can even see it as you ask a question to the prompt, to the model, and you start to generate the tokens. All of a sudden, it deletes a couple of tokens and comes back in because it starts sending draft tokens to the cloud, and the big model corrects it. And I think we're going to see a big change coming as we benefit of all this computing and distributing. I think this will accelerate, the use of AI and the use of computing at the edge broadly.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Jenny from Franklin Templeton talking about real-time settlement. And we also know all about real-time pricing. When we pay in fiat, we don't see real-time pricing. The closest thing that comes to that is gas. Other than that, we don't get to see it. Unless you work in the FX market or unless you're in digital currencies, that's the only time you see real-time pricing. But the consumers don't see it often. Just like I stated, unless it's at the pump and they're paying in fiat, so they're not paying it any mind. But the fact is that once they get this digital pricing for services and goods will probably change 3 to 4 times a day. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now, they say it every 10 minutes, and you can't make this stuff up. And we had Davos in the house last week, and he says that 25 years ago, he was studying AI. Yes, guys, you heard that correct. And we know it goes way farther than that. But you notice how she put her head down. And he talks about the AI scientist. And we know the AI scientist is going to make your food and make your medicine. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have all languages are definitely encoded, especially the English language. But when you're talking about these language models, that's why they call it coding. These words don't come from anywhere. Remember, my people perish from the lack of knowledge because they reject it. Do not be ignorant to this technology. Get in, play with it, learn how to code a little. You have to be an expert. Learn how to prompt. You don't have to be an expert, but at least understand it. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And if you're young, you definitely want to be able to communicate with these bots. That's going to be the new language. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And then your car is a computer. And that's the reason why they don't want you driving it. You're looking at self-driving cars, or these robots will be driving the cars. But if you do have one, if you're able to afford them, when the dust settles, you'll be on a real-life Knight Rider. You're going to have your own kit car. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And I did a Patreon video for the plane and helicopter crash, guys. Not going to go over it here. But the fact is, if you listen closely, he said that was an Army helicopter. I just want to make sure you guys understand that they've tested technology inside the military that we have no clue. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen over these next 4 years, happen in those skies that we're not going to understand. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. But don't forget to go watch the Patreon video. And if you're a part of my premium stock Patreon account, don't forget to watch the money video I did, so therefore you can get yourselves prepared for these next few years. And then we have the Trump tariffs. And yes, they're definitely going to destroy this legacy market. But remember, this is a plan that moves in phases. And Trump's job is to land us in this fourth industrial revolution where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. And never forget the Hegelian dialectic is undefeated. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget about the books.
We absolutely will. What's interesting is there will probably be some armed services jurisdiction as well, since it involved an Army helicopter. They'll probably be taking a look at it, which I'm on that committee as well. And then my committee will definitely be taking a look at this once we get more data and more information. I have my own personal opinions on what happened, but I warn people, let's not speculate until we have all of the information. And the NTSB is a very professional organization, and they don't put anything out unless it's factual. So, we tend to want to keep it that way.
Oh, it's hard to accept that bottom line. I mean, if you think of just oil, Canada is an enormously important source of refinery fuel in the United States. You put a 25% tariff on Canadian oil, you're looking at 25 cents a gallon of gasoline. People will notice that. And if he goes further to impose tariffs on all oil imports later in the month, then we're going to see a big impact on oil as a feedstock to all sorts of manufacturing, oil as an input into gasoline, and that's just been historically a recipe for inflationary pressures. More broadly, the things that have been so painful to the American consumer have been food and energy. And as the reporter mentioned, we get a lot of vegetables from Mexico. We have an enormous exposure there. So I don't see any real way that you levy these kinds of taxes. And these are big taxes. This is on the order of something that looks like $500 billion over 10 years, and not expect to have some economic impact. And that's just the sort of straight-on impact effect of the U.S. announcement that we heard this afternoon. Remember, Canada has been preparing to retaliate and has prepared 2 levels of retaliation and could do that as quickly as these are being implemented. Mexico has promised the same kinds of retaliation, not as firm on their planning. But if you start moving a car back and forth across both the Mexican and the Canadian border and getting tariffs from both countries in the process, that's a really big impact on all the economies. And so this is a far from unimportant move by the president.
American administration that they have a strong partner in Canada when it comes to upholding border security, all while simultaneously underscoring that we won't back down, that if tariffs are implemented against Canada, we will respond. We won't relent until tariffs are removed, and of course, everything is on the table.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is It's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence.
Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, BitChute, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Dramatea save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Dramatea save New York. From COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Dramatea goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.